Hey everyone, where you all from? Drop a comment below and let me know as we dive into another gripping story from the vault of Unheard Stories. If you've ever been curious about the twists and turns of love, betrayal, and revenge, this is the channel for you. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an explosive tale. Today I'm sharing a story that will leave you questioning everything you know about trust, loyalty, and the lengths one can go for revenge. The story you're about to hear is not for the faint-hearted. It's a roller coaster ride filled with secrets, heartbreak, and the kind of payback that will make you gasp. Buckle up because this one's intense. Meet Leo, our narrator. Leo is the kind of guy most people look up to, a reliable, hardworking, and loving husband who values honesty and commitment above all else. For over 2 decades he's been married to Maya, the woman he believed was his soulmate. Together they've built a life that others envied. A beautiful home, 2 wonderful kids now in college, and countless memories that seemed unshakable. Leo and Maya's love story appeared perfect on the surface. Their marriage was like a well-crafted painting, polished, admired, and seemingly flawless. But as we all know, sometimes the cracks are hidden beneath the surface, waiting to shatter everything when the pressure becomes too much. Maya, a stay-at-home wife for most of their marriage, recently found a new sense of purpose by volunteering for a political campaign. At first, Leo was thrilled for her. It gave her a way to stay busy now that their kids were grown. Little did he know, this new hobby would bring not just excitement, but also chaos into their lives. Enter Ethan, a charismatic and powerful politician with a reputation for being a smooth talker. With his charming smile and commanding presence, he had a way of making people feel important. For Maya, volunteering on his campaign felt like stepping into a glamorous world of power and prestige. She was drawn to the attention and the allure of being around someone as magnetic as Ethan. Leo didn't think much of it at first. Maya was happier than she'd been in years, and their home felt more alive with her energy. But sometimes the brightest flames burn the fastest, leaving destruction in their wake. What started as an innocent opportunity for Maya soon spiraled into a web of deceit that would upend Leo's life. This story isn't just about betrayal. It's about what happens when someone you trust breaks the foundation of your world. It's about Leo's journey through heartbreak and how he turned his pain into a carefully calculated act of revenge. So stick around as we uncover every twist and turn. If you've ever wondered how far someone can go to reclaim their dignity, this story will show you. Like this video if you're ready for the ride, and don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling tales like this. Let's get into it. Leo, our narrator, is the kind of man who has spent his life striving to be dependable. As a mid-level manager at a tech company, he's carved out a stable career over the years. He's not flashy, but he takes pride in his work and his ability to provide for his family. For Leo, loyalty and family are non-negotiable values. He believes in doing the right thing and always putting loved ones first. Leo has been married to Maya for over 20 years. Their life together has been a journey of ups and downs, but he always thought they shared a solid foundation. To him, their relationship was built on trust, and he believed they were a team, unshakable and strong. Over the years, they've celebrated successes and weathered challenges together, raising 2 children who are now in college. Their home, filled with cherished memories, seemed like the epitome of stability. But Leo is also a man of quiet reflection. Beneath his calm exterior lies a deep sensitivity. He notices things, small shifts in tone, fleeting glances, and while he might not always voice his concerns, he tucks them away in the back of his mind. This introspective nature is what will later lead him to uncover the cracks in his seemingly perfect life. Maya, Leo's wife, is a woman who has spent most of her adult life as a stay-at-home mom. For years, she dedicated herself to their family, prioritizing the needs of her husband and children above her own. But now, with their kids grown and off to college, Maya has found herself grappling with a sense of restlessness. The once busy days of parenting are gone, leaving her yearning for purpose and excitement. When Maya learned about an opportunity to volunteer for a prominent politician's campaign, it felt like a lifeline. Finally, she could step into a world that was bigger than her kitchen and her suburban neighborhood. She saw it as a chance to reinvent herself, to feel important and appreciated in a way that domestic life didn't offer. But Maya's ambitions didn't come without a price. While she initially joined the campaign with innocent intentions, her desire for recognition soon became tangled with more dangerous feelings. She craved the attention and validation that came from being around powerful people, and it blinded her to the consequences of her actions. Enter Ethan, the third figure in this drama. Ethan is the kind of politician who commands attention wherever he goes. At 6 feet tall with a polished smile and an air of authority, he knows how to work a room. His speeches are always stirring, his words carefully chosen to resonate with his audience. But beneath the charm lies a darker side, a manipulative streak that he uses to get what he wants. For Ethan, people are tools to be used, and Maya was no exception. He saw in her the perfect combination of admiration and vulnerability, a woman who would do anything to feel noticed. It wasn't long before he began to pull her closer, showering her with compliments and making her feel special. Maya, dazzled by his attention, didn't realize she was being played. Ethan's reputation wasn't spotless. Whispered rumors of affairs and questionable behavior had followed him for years, but he always managed to keep them just out of the public eye. His charm, after all, was his greatest weapon. While Maya was stepping into her newfound world of political intrigue, Leo had someone in his corner, his trusted colleague Diana. Diana had worked alongside Leo for nearly a decade, and over the years their professional relationship had blossomed into a genuine friendship. She admired Leo's work ethic and integrity, qualities she found increasingly rare in the corporate world. But Diana's feelings for Leo went beyond admiration. Unbeknownst to him, she had developed a quiet affection for him over the years. She respected the boundaries of their friendship, knowing he was a devoted husband, but that didn't stop her from wishing she could be the one by his side. When Leo begins to unravel the truth about Maya's affair, Diana becomes an unexpected source of comfort. She doesn't push or pry but offers him a listening ear and a shoulder to lean on. Her role in his life becomes even more significant as the story unfolds, showing how genuine connections can bring hope even in the darkest times. Leo and Maya's marriage wasn't perfect, but Leo always believed it was strong. However, as the kids left for college and the house became quieter, the cracks began to show. They weren't the couple they used to be. The days of passionate love letters and spontaneous date nights had given way to routine and, at times, indifference. Maya's newfound excitement about volunteering for Ethan's campaign only widened the gap. At first, Leo was supportive. He saw it as an opportunity for her to find fulfillment, but he couldn't ignore the way she started changing. Maya became more distant, often glued to her phone or distracted during conversations. Late nights at campaign events became the norm, and when she was home, her mind seemed elsewhere. For Leo, the warning signs were subtle but undeniable. He noticed her new wardrobe, clothes that were more stylish and revealing than anything she'd worn in years. He caught glimpses of her glowing smiles when she checked her phone, smiles that weren't directed at him. Yet, he dismissed these thoughts, telling himself that Maya was simply rediscovering her confidence. But deep down, Leo knew something was wrong. Their once solid bond felt fragile, and he couldn't shake the sense that the woman he loved was slipping away. The tension between them grew and their conversations became strained. Maya brushed off his concerns with reassurances that everything was fine, but her words rang hollow. Leo wanted to believe her, but the cracks were becoming impossible to ignore. And as he would soon discover, those cracks weren't just in their marriage. They were fissures that would lead to an earthquake, one that would turn his life upside down. This is where the stage is set. With Leo's unwavering loyalty, Maya's restless ambition, Ethan's calculated charm, and Diana's quiet presence, the pieces are in place for a story that will take you through every twist and turn of betrayal and revenge. Keep watching, things are about to get intense. Maya's journey into Ethan's campaign started innocently enough. At first, it was an opportunity to fill her days and engage with something bigger than herself. She told Leo it was just volunteering, a way to contribute to a cause she believed in. Ethan stands for change, she'd said, her eyes lighting up. He's exactly what this state needs. Leo admired her enthusiasm. It had been a while since he'd seen her so animated. But as time went on, what began as casual involvement turned into something else entirely. The first time Maya met Ethan was at a campaign kickoff event. He was giving a rousing speech, his deep voice commanding the attention of everyone in the room. Dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, he exuded charisma and authority. He moved through the crowd with ease, shaking hands, flashing his signature smile, and making every person he spoke to feel important. When Ethan finally approached Maya, she felt an electric charge she hadn't experienced in years. "And who might you be?" he asked, his eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her stomach flutter. "I'm Maya," she replied, trying to steady her voice. "Just a volunteer." "Just a volunteer?" "Nonsense," he said, stepping closer. "Anyone who's willing to give their time to this cause is more than just anything. You're the backbone of what we do." It was a simple compliment, but it lingered with Maya long after the event ended. Ethan had a way of making her feel seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. That night, as she lay in bed next to Leo, her mind was still buzzing with the memory of Ethan's smile and the warmth of his handshake. Over the next few weeks, Maya became more deeply involved in the campaign. She started attending every event, working late nights to help with fundraising efforts and taking on more responsibilities. Ethan took notice of her dedication and made a point to single her out in group settings. "Maya, your work has been exceptional," he'd say, his hand lingering on her shoulder a second too long. "I don't know what we'd do without you." Maya basked in the attention. Ethan's charm was intoxicating, and his compliments made her feel alive in a way she hadn't in years. She began dressing more stylishly for campaign events. Sleek dresses, higher heels, and subtle yet seductive makeup. She told herself it was just part of looking professional, but deep down she knew she wanted to catch Ethan's eye. Ethan, for his part, knew exactly what he was doing. He'd mastered the art of seduction long ago, and Maya was just the latest in a long line of admirers. He started texting her late at night under the guise of discussing campaign strategies, but the messages quickly became more personal. "You have such a sharp mind, Maya. I wish we had more people like you on this team. You looked stunning tonight. That dress suits you perfectly." Maya felt a thrill each time her phone buzzed with one of Ethan's messages. She started guarding her phone more closely, worried that Leo might notice something. It wasn't that she had anything to hide, at least not yet, but she felt the need to keep this part of her life separate. Back at home, Leo was starting to notice the changes in Maya. She seemed more distracted, often glued to her phone or laptop late into the night. "What's so urgent?" he'd ask casually, hoping to start a conversation. "Oh, just campaign stuff," Maya would reply, barely looking up. "You know how it is." But Leo didn't know how it was. This wasn't the Maya he'd known for over 2 decades. She'd always been attentive and present, but now it felt like she was drifting further away with each passing day. He couldn't help but notice the way her face lit up when she talked about Ethan or the way she'd rush to answer her phone whenever it buzzed. One evening, while scrolling through social media, Leo stumbled upon a photo Maya had posted from a campaign event. She was standing next to Ethan, her smile radiant, and his hand resting lightly on the small of her back. Something about the photo didn't sit right with Leo. It wasn't jealousy exactly, he trusted Maya, but there was an intimacy in the way they stood together that made his stomach churn. "Maya, do you really have to spend so much time on this campaign?" Leo asked one night as they were getting ready for bed. "It feels like I barely see you anymore." "It's just until the election," Maya replied, brushing off his concerns. "I'm doing something meaningful, Leo. Can't you be happy for me?" Leo wanted to be happy for her, but the distance between them was growing. Intimacy, once a regular part of their relationship, had all but disappeared. Maya always seemed too tired or too busy. "I'm sorry, Leo," she'd say. "Can we take a rain check? I just have so much on my mind right now." The excuses were piling up, and Leo couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was wrong. As the weeks went on, Maya became more secretive. She started coming home later and later, often with vague explanations about last-minute campaign meetings. Leo tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but his patience was wearing thin. One afternoon, while tidying up the living room, Leo noticed Maya's phone buzzing on the coffee table. A message from Ethan flashed across the screen. "I can't stop thinking about you." Leo's heart dropped. He didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the evidence was starting to pile up. He decided not to confront Maya just yet, hoping he was reading too much into things. That evening, when Maya returned home, she was unusually cheerful. "Guess what?" she said, her eyes sparkling. "Ethan personally asked me to help coordinate the next big fundraising event. He said I'm one of the most reliable people on the team." "That's great," Leo replied, forcing a smile. "But don't you think you're taking on too much? You've been working so hard lately." "I can handle it," Maya said dismissively. "This is important to me, Leo." Leo couldn't argue with her passion, but the growing gulf between them was undeniable. Their once comfortable routines were unraveling, and the woman he loved was slipping away. The breaking point came during a rare quiet evening at home. Maya was in the kitchen, humming to herself as she prepared dinner. Leo, trying to recapture some semblance of normalcy, walked up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you doing?" Maya asked, her tone sharp as she pulled away. "I just wanted to," Leo began, but she cut him off. "Not now, Leo. I'm not in the mood." Her words stung, but it was the look in her eyes that hurt the most. She seemed distant, almost annoyed by his presence. For the first time, Leo realized that whatever was happening wasn't just a phase. Something fundamental had shifted in their relationship. As Maya turned her attention back to dinner, Leo sat down at the dining table, his mind racing. The woman he loved, the life they had built together, it all felt like it was slipping through his fingers. He didn't know the full truth yet, but he was determined to find out. And when he did, it would change everything. In this chapter of the story, the stage is set for the unraveling of a marriage. Maya's infatuation with Ethan and the growing secrecy around her behavior have driven a wedge between her and Leo. As suspicion turns into certainty, Leo is on the brink of discovering a betrayal that will shatter his world. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the chaos and heartbreak that follows. The day Leo's suspicions were confirmed started like any other. He was cleaning the house while Maya was out at another campaign event. He wasn't looking for anything in particular, but as he picked up a pile of papers from the counter, a folded sheet slipped out and fluttered to the floor. When he picked it up, his breath caught. It was a printout of a photo from a recent campaign event, a candid shot of Maya and Ethan. At first glance, it seemed innocent enough, but the way Ethan's hand rested possessively on Maya's lower back told a different story. She was smiling at him in a way Leo hadn't seen her smile in years, warm, open, and unguarded. His stomach twisted. Leo told himself he was overreacting. People smile in photos all the time, right? But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it was about to grow into something much darker. The evidence builds. Later that evening, while Maya was in the shower, Leo's curiosity got the better of him. Her phone was charging on the nightstand, and he hesitated before picking it up. He'd never snooped on her before, but something about the photo had unsettled him in a way he couldn't shake. Unlocking her phone, he immediately regretted it. A string of messages from Ethan filled the screen. Ethan, can't wait to see you again tonight. Maya, me too. I'll wear that dress you like. Ethan, you're incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. Leo's hands trembled as he scrolled through the conversation. Each message felt like a dagger to the heart. The flirtation, the private jokes, the explicit hints, it was all there in black and white. His world shattered. He put the phone back exactly as he'd found it and walked out of the room, his mind racing. He needed more than just text to confront her. He needed undeniable proof. The private investigator. The next day, Leo contacted a private investigator, a no-nonsense man named Greg who specialized in marital cases. Leo handed over the texts and asked Greg to dig deeper. I need to know for sure, he said, his voice tight with emotion. I can't confront her unless I have the full picture. Greg worked quickly, and within a week he had what Leo feared the most: photos of Maya entering and leaving Ethan's hotel suite on multiple occasions. There were timestamps, records of late-night rendezvous, and even a receipt from a romantic dinner they'd shared at a high-end restaurant. One photo in particular was seared into Leo's mind: Maya walking out of Ethan's room with her hair disheveled, wearing the same dress she'd left the house an hours earlier. Greg handed over the evidence with a grim expression. I'm sorry, man, he said. It's not easy seeing this. Leo nodded, too numb to speak. He thanked Greg and left, his chest tight with anger and heartbreak. The confrontation. That evening, Maya came home humming to herself, clearly in high spirits. She didn't notice the tension in Leo's posture or the storm brewing behind his eyes. He waited until she was settled on the couch before dropping the folder of evidence onto the coffee table in front of her. What's this? Maya asked, frowning as she opened it. Her face went pale as she flipped through the photos and read the attached notes. Maya, Leo said, his voice low and steady, though it quivered with suppressed emotion. Explain this. She stammered, her eyes darting between the photos and Leo's face. These are fake. Someone's trying to sabotage Ethan's campaign. Don't lie to me, Leo snapped, his voice rising. I've seen the texts. I've seen the receipts. I've seen you sneaking into his room like a lovesick teenager. Do you think I'm stupid? Maya's face crumpled, and for a moment, it looked like she was going to cry. But then her expression hardened. You've been spying on me, she said, her voice filled with outrage. You went through my phone? You hired a private investigator? How dare you invade my privacy? How dare I? Leo shot back, incredulous. How dare you throw away our marriage for some sleazy politician? After everything we've built together, everything I've done for you, you repay me like this? Maya's defenses crumbled under the weight of his accusations. Fine, she snapped, her voice laced with venom. You want the truth? Yes, I've been seeing Ethan. He makes me feel alive, Leo. He makes me feel like someone. Do you even realize how boring our life has become? You're so predictable, so safe. Leo felt like he'd been punched in the gut. Safe? He repeated, his voice shaking. That's what you call 20 years of loyalty and love? Safe? I'm sorry, Maya said, her tone softening slightly. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it did. And now I don't know how to fix it. There is no fixing this, Leo said coldly. You made your choice and now you'll have to live with the consequences. Leo's heartbreak. That night, Leo packed a bag and left the house. He couldn't stand to be under the same roof as Maya, not after what she'd done. He drove aimlessly for hours, his mind replaying their argument over and over. The images of Maya with Ethan haunted him, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't push them away. He thought about their marriage, the life they'd built together, and the memories they'd shared. Was it all a lie? Had Maya been unhappy for years, or had she only recently started craving something else? The questions gnawed at him, but the answers didn't matter. The damage was done. Leo spent the night at a motel, staring at the ceiling and trying to process the betrayal. He felt a mix of anger, sadness, and humiliation. How could he have been so blind? So trusting? By morning, one emotion had risen above the others: determination. If Maya and Ethan thought they could walk all over him, they were sorely mistaken. Leo wasn't going to let them get away with it. The resolve for revenge. In the days that followed, Leo began to formulate a plan. It wasn't enough to simply walk away from Maya. He wanted justice. He wanted Ethan to feel the pain and humiliation he had inflicted on Leo's life. And he wanted Maya to realize the full weight of her actions. Leo's heartbreak turned into a burning desire for revenge. He kept his plans to himself, careful not to tip his hand. Every time he saw Maya, he acted calm and collected, which only seemed to frustrate her. "You're not even angry anymore," she said one evening. "Doesn't that mean something?" Leo gave her a cold smile. "Oh, I'm angry," he replied. "But don't worry, Maya. You'll see just how angry I am soon enough." The tension between them was palpable, but Maya had no idea what was coming. Leo's heartbreak had transformed him, hardening him into someone who was no longer willing to play the role of the victim. As he finalized his plan, he thought about the years he'd spent building a life with Maya. He thought about the love they'd shared and the betrayal that had destroyed it. And with every thought, his resolve grew stronger. This wasn't just about getting back at Maya or Ethan. This was about reclaiming his dignity and proving to himself that he could rise above the pain. Leo was ready for the next chapter, and he was going to write it on his terms. Leo's mind was a storm of emotions in the days following his discovery of Maya's affair. Anger, heartbreak, and betrayal swirled inside him, each one taking turns gnawing at his sanity. He vacillated between wanting to walk away and wanting to make them both pay for what they had done. Deep down, he knew he couldn't simply move on without doing something to reclaim his dignity. For years, Leo had been the dependable one, the stable one, the man who gave without asking for anything in return. And now he was a punchline in a joke he didn't even know he was a part of. That realization lit a fire in him. He wouldn't let Maya and Ethan humiliate him without consequences. At first, Leo wrestled with the idea of revenge. Was it worth stooping to their level? Was it better to take the high road and walk away with his head held high? But every time he saw Maya at home, acting as though her betrayal was a minor mistake, his resolve hardened. Maya didn't seem remorseful, she seemed irritated that Leo wasn't reacting the way she'd expected. She had likely anticipated anger, yelling, and maybe even a tearful goodbye. But Leo gave her none of that. Instead, he maintained a calm exterior, knowing that his silence was unnerving her. Ethan was another matter. Leo had seen the man's smug, polished smile too many times on television and in photos. He imagined Ethan believing he could take whatever he wanted, manipulate whomever he pleased, and walk away unscathed. That smugness was what fueled Leo's determination. No, Ethan wouldn't walk away unscathed, not this time. During this tumultuous period, Leo found an unexpected ally in Diana, his colleague and longtime friend. Diana had noticed Leo's mood shift at work and approached him cautiously. "You've been off lately," she said one afternoon over lunch. "Is everything okay?" Leo hesitated. He hadn't planned on confiding in anyone, but Diana's genuine concern broke through his defenses. He told her everything, about Maya, the affair, the texts, and the photos. To his surprise, Diana didn't try to comfort him with empty platitudes. Instead, she listened intently, her eyes narrowing with a mix of sympathy and anger. "She doesn't deserve you," Diana said firmly when he finished. "And that guy Ethan? He sounds like a complete narcissist." Leo nodded. "I know. But what do I do now? I can't just let them get away with it." Diana leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone. "You don't have to. You're a good man, Leo, but sometimes good people need to get their hands a little dirty." Her words lingered in Leo's mind for days. Diana's support became a lifeline for him during this difficult time. She didn't push him toward revenge, but her unwavering confidence in him gave him the strength to pursue it. One evening, while nursing a drink in his quiet apartment, the pieces of Leo's revenge plan began to fall into place. He didn't want violence, and he didn't want to jeopardize his career or reputation. What he wanted was humiliation. Public, undeniable humiliation for both Maya and Ethan. They had embarrassed him in private. He would repay the favor tenfold. The plan would be precise, calculated, and impossible to trace back to him. Leo jotted down notes, refining every detail until he had a blueprint for the perfect retaliation. The first step was to collect irrefutable evidence of Maya and Ethan's affair. The photos and texts he already had were good, but Leo wanted more. He contacted Greg, the private investigator, and asked him to follow Maya discreetly during her next campaign trip. As expected, Greg delivered photos of Maya entering Ethan's hotel room late at night and leaving hours later. Greg also managed to record a damning conversation between Ethan and Maya, in which Ethan referred to their relationship as a fun distraction and joked about how easy it was to keep Maya hooked. The recording solidified Leo's plan. It wasn't just about revenge anymore, it was about justice. The centerpiece of Leo's plan was a high-profile fundraising event that Ethan was scheduled to attend. It was the perfect opportunity to expose the affair in front of donors, media, and other campaign staff. Leo coordinated with Greg to ensure that the photos, texts, and recording would be leaked to a trusted journalist at just the right moment. To ensure maximum impact, Leo also arranged for a few anonymous tips to be sent to several reporters, hinting at a scandal involving Ethan. The goal was to create a media frenzy just as the event was reaching its peak. Leo's revenge wouldn't be complete without confronting Maya directly. But instead of an angry outburst, he planned to hit her where it hurt most, her social image. Using a burner phone, Leo anonymously shared the photos of Maya and Ethan with her closest friends and family. He knew the fallout would be swift and brutal, as Maya had always cared deeply about her reputation. For his own satisfaction, Leo decided to leave a physical reminder of the betrayal for both Maya and Ethan. He purchased a batch of personalized stickers that read, "Property of Ethan, loyalty optional," and discreetly placed them on items in Maya's suitcase and Ethan's campaign materials. It was petty, but it made Leo smile. Throughout the planning phase, Diana was a steady presence in Leo's life. She didn't condone all of his actions, but she understood his need to reclaim his sense of control. "You're doing what you need to do," she said one evening as they shared a bottle of wine. "Just promise me you'll stop before it consumes you." Leo nodded. "I will. Once they've both had a taste of their own medicine, I'll be done." Diana's quiet encouragement kept Leo grounded. She reminded him of the life he could build after the chaos subsided, a life where he was free of Maya's lies and surrounded by people who truly cared about him. As the date of the fundraiser approached, Leo felt a strange sense of calm. His plan was ready and all the pieces were in place. He didn't feel guilt or hesitation anymore, only anticipation. For the first time in weeks, he slept soundly, knowing that justice was coming. The morning of the event, Leo stood in front of the mirror, adjusting his tie. His reflection stared back at him, determined and unyielding. He wasn't the same man he'd been a month ago. He was stronger now, sharper, and ready to face whatever came next. "Let's see how they like being exposed," he muttered to himself, a faint smile playing on his lips. The stage was set and the players were in position. Leo's revenge wasn't just about punishing Maya and Ethan. It was about reclaiming his own power and dignity. As he left his apartment and headed toward the event, he knew one thing for certain. This would be a night they'd never forget. Leo's plan was bold, meticulous, and deeply personal. With Diana by his side, he had the clarity and support he needed to see it through. The next phase of the story would bring chaos, revelation, and consequences for everyone involved. Stay tuned, the best is yet to come. The night of the fundraiser arrived, and the atmosphere at the grand event was electric. Hundreds of people, donors, staff, reporters, and prominent community figures, mingled in the ballroom, sipping champagne and exchanging pleasantries. Ethan was in his element, shaking hands and flashing his signature grin. Maya, dressed in a sleek evening gown, stayed close to him, her smile radiant and her eyes glimmering with excitement. Unbeknownst to them, the evening would not go as planned. Leo, dressed sharply in a dark suit, blended into the crowd with ease. He was calm, collected, and ready to put his meticulously crafted plan into motion. At exactly 7:45 p.m., just as the event was hitting its stride, Leo's first move went into effect. A journalist seated near the back of the room received an anonymous email. Attached were photos of Maya and Ethan entering and leaving a hotel room, along with explicit text between the two. The final attachment was an audio recording of Ethan referring to their affair as a fun distraction and laughing about how gullible Maya was. The journalist's eyes widened as he scanned the material. This wasn't just a scoop, it was a career-defining scandal. Within minutes, he forwarded the files to a handful of his colleagues, and the news began to spread like wildfire. Cameras that had been focused on capturing the glitz and glamour of the event were now quietly repositioned toward Ethan and Maya. At 8 p.m. Ethan took to the stage to deliver his speech. The room fell silent as he thanked his supporters and launched into his usual rhetoric about integrity, family values, and leadership. Leo stood at the back of the room, his arms crossed, watching the scene unfold. Just as Ethan was reaching the crescendo of his speech, the ballroom's projector screen flickered to life. The audience murmured in confusion as a slideshow began to play. The first image was a photo of Maya entering Ethan's hotel room. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the next slide showed Ethan embracing her in the hallway, his hand resting a little too low on her back. Maya, seated at a table near the front, froze. Her face turned pale as she stared at the screen in horror. Ethan stopped mid-sentence, his smile faltering as the slideshow continued. Text messages, receipts, and finally the audio clip. "I can't stop thinking about you," Ethan's voice played over the speakers. "But let's keep this between us. It wouldn't look good if people found out." The room erupted in whispers and gasps. Cameras flashed as reporters scrambled to capture the reactions. Maya buried her face in her hands, while Ethan stood frozen on stage, his expression a mix of shock and fury. Leo smiled to himself as he slipped out of the ballroom. His work wasn't done yet. He made his way to the coat room where Maya's purse was stashed. Inside, he placed one of the stickers he'd custom-made, "Property of Ethan, loyalty optional." It was a petty touch, but it brought him immense satisfaction. As he walked past the valet desk, he dropped another sticker onto Ethan's campaign briefcase. Then, with a deep breath, he headed back into the ballroom to enjoy the fallout. Back inside, the chaos was escalating. Ethan's campaign manager had rushed to the stage, trying to regain control of the situation. "There's been a technical glitch," he stammered, but no one was buying it. A reporter raised her hand and shouted, "Senator, do you have a comment on the allegations in these photos and recordings?" Ethan stepped forward, visibly sweating. "This is a smear campaign," he said, his voice cracking. "These images are doctored. None of this is true." Another journalist chimed in, "Senator, are you saying the voice in the recording isn't yours?" Ethan hesitated, and in that moment of silence, the room knew the truth. Someone in the back laughed, and soon others joined in. The tension broke as the audience began whispering and snickering openly. Maya tried to slip out unnoticed, but a cameraman caught her retreat. "Mrs. Bennett, care to comment?" he asked, shoving a microphone toward her. She pushed past him, her face flushed with humiliation. Leo stayed near the back of the room enjoying the show. He caught Maya's eye as she turned to leave, and for a split second their gazes locked. Her expression was a mixture of anger and desperation, but Leo's face remained impassive. He didn't need to say anything, his presence was enough. As she fled the room, Ethan was left to fend for himself. The audience wasn't buying his denials and the reporters weren't letting up. By the time he left the stage, his political career was in shambles. Outside the venue, Maya was pacing near the valet station, frantically calling someone on her phone. Leo approached her calmly, his hands in his pockets. "Leo," she started, her voice trembling. "I can explain?" He held up a hand to stop her. "Don't," he said firmly. "You've done enough." "Was this you?" she demanded, her voice rising. "Did you do this?" Leo shrugged, a small smile playing on his lips. "Does it matter? The truth's out now. You made your bed, Maya." Her face crumpled, but Leo didn't stay to watch. He turned and walked away, leaving her standing alone in the cold night air. Later that evening, Leo sat in his car, parked a few blocks away from the venue. He watched the news coverage on his phone, his heart pounding with a mix of satisfaction and disbelief. The headlines were brutal: Senator's scandal rocks campaign, infidelity and lies exposed, rising star falls from grace. Diana called to check in on him. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Lighter," Leo admitted. "Like I've finally taken back control." "Well, you deserve it," Diana said warmly. "But don't let this consume you, okay? You've done what you needed to do. Now it's time to move forward." As Leo drove home, he couldn't help but chuckle at the irony of it all. Ethan, the man who prided himself on his image of perfection, had been undone by his own hubris. Maya, who had craved excitement and validation, had found herself at the center of a scandal she couldn't escape. For Leo, it wasn't just about revenge, it was about closure. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in weeks he felt hopeful. The weight of betrayal had been lifted, and he was ready to start rebuilding his life, one step at a time. Leo's revenge was executed with precision and flair, leaving a lasting impact on everyone involved. The public exposure of Maya and Ethan's affair wasn't just a moment of vindication for Leo, it was a turning point, the first step toward reclaiming his dignity and moving forward. The fallout from the scandal was swift and brutal, as Leo had anticipated. By the morning after the fundraiser, Maya and Ethan were the talk of the town, and not in the way either of them would have liked. Maya's social life, once filled with brunches, charity events, and casual coffee dates, evaporated overnight. The friends she had relied on for validation distanced themselves, either out of judgment or fear of being associated with the scandal. The photos and texts had gone viral, and Maya's name was dragged through the mud alongside Ethan's. Social media was ruthless, with memes and jokes circulating about her betrayal. Her family wasn't any kinder. Her parents, traditional and conservative, were deeply ashamed. "How could you embarrass us like this?" her mother had said during a tearful phone call. Even her siblings, who had always been her allies, struggled to defend her. At home, the silence was suffocating. Leo had already moved out by the time Maya returned from the fundraiser, taking only what he needed and leaving no note. The house felt hollow, a stark reminder of everything she had thrown away. Maya tried to reach out to Leo, but every call went unanswered. Her texts were left unread. The isolation gnawed at her. She had sought excitement, validation, and a sense of purpose, but now all she had was regret and the crushing realization that she had destroyed the one thing that had truly mattered: her marriage. Ethan's downfall was even more spectacular. The media frenzy surrounding the leaked evidence consumed every news outlet for days. Pundits dissected every detail, from the explicit text to the audio recording where he mocked Maya and bragged about his conquests. His carefully curated image as a family man and moral leader was in tatters. Donors pulled their support almost immediately, and within a week his campaign was effectively over. Ethan tried to salvage his career, issuing a public apology and claiming he had been misled and used, but the damage was irreversible. His wife filed for divorce, and the whispers of other affairs began to surface, further cementing his fall from grace. For Ethan, it wasn't just a professional loss, it was personal. He had underestimated the cost of his actions, believing his charm and connections would shield him from the consequences. But this time he had picked the wrong opponent in Leo. While Maya and Ethan were dealing with the fallout, Leo was beginning to rebuild his life. The road to recovery wasn't easy, betrayal left scars that couldn't be healed overnight, but he found solace in small steps forward. Diana played a crucial role in his recovery. She was a steady presence, offering support without judgment and reminding him that he deserved happiness. Their friendship deepened as they spent more time together. Diana's warmth and honesty were a stark contrast to the deceit he had endured, and Leo found himself opening up to her in ways he never had before. One evening, as they shared a quiet dinner at Diana's apartment, Leo admitted, "I'm not sure I'll ever be able to trust someone completely again." Diana reached across the table and took his hand. "You don't have to rush. Trust takes time. But you're stronger than you think, Leo. And you're not alone." Her words stayed with him, a reminder that healing wasn't about forgetting the pain but learning to carry it without letting it define him. As weeks turned into months, Leo and Diana's relationship evolved. What started as friendship blossomed into something deeper. Diana never pressured him, allowing their connection to grow naturally. Leo appreciated her patience and the way she made him feel seen and valued. One evening during a walk in the park, Leo stopped and turned to Diana. "I don't know where this is going," he said honestly, "but I want to find out." "With you?" Diana smiled, her eyes shining. "I've been waiting for you to say that." Their relationship wasn't perfect. It came with its own challenges and moments of doubt, but it was built on a foundation of honesty and mutual respect. For the first time in a long time, Leo felt hopeful about the future. As Leo moved forward, he often reflected on the journey that had brought him to this point. The betrayal he had experienced was a defining moment, but it wasn't the end of his story. It was a chapter, a painful one but also a transformative one. He thought about Maya often, not with anger but with a sense of closure. She had made her choices and so had he. Their marriage, once the center of his world, was now a part of his past. It had taught him lessons about love, trust, and resilience that he would carry with him into the future. Leo also thought about the man he had become. The experience had forced him to confront his pain, to make tough decisions, and to rediscover his sense of self. He wasn't the same person he had been before the betrayal, but in many ways he felt stronger, more grounded in who he was and what he wanted. Through it all, one lesson stood out: betrayal could break you, but it could also rebuild you. It could strip away everything you thought you knew, forcing you to start from scratch. And in that rebuilding, there was an opportunity to create something better, something stronger. Moving forward. By the time the divorce was finalized, Leo was in a much better place. He and Diana had moved in together, and he had started a new job at a company where his skills were valued. He reconnected with his children, who had been hurt by the fallout but ultimately supported his decision to move on. As for Maya, their interactions were few and far between. When they did speak, it was cordial but distant. Leo had no desire to rekindle anything, and Maya seemed to understand that. She apologized repeatedly, but Leo had already let go of the anger. Forgiveness for him wasn't about absolving her, it was about freeing himself. Leo's story is one of betrayal, heartbreak, and revenge, but it's also a story of resilience. It's a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there's a path forward. It may not be easy and it may not be quick, but with time and effort, healing is possible. As Leo sat on the porch of his new home, watching the sunset with Diana by his side, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't known in years. The scars of the past were still there, but they were a part of his journey, a testament to his strength and his ability to overcome. "Here's to new beginnings," Diana said, raising her glass of wine. "To new beginnings," Leo agreed, smiling as he clinked his glass against hers. The past was behind him and the future was wide open. For the first time in a long time, Leo was ready to embrace it. And so, Leo's journey comes full circle, a tale of betrayal, heartbreak, revenge, and ultimately personal growth. What began as a devastating discovery turned into an opportunity for Leo to reclaim his dignity, find closure, and rebuild his life. Along the way, he learned valuable lessons about resilience, self-worth, and the importance of surrounding yourself with people who truly care. This story teaches us something universal: betrayal doesn't have to define you. It hurts, yes, and it can leave scars, but it can also be a catalyst for change. When you're faced with heartbreak, you have a choice: let it break you or let it rebuild you into someone stronger. Leo chose the latter, and his story is a powerful reminder that even in our darkest moments, there's always a path forward. But what about you? Have you ever faced a betrayal that shook you to your core? How did you handle it? Did it change you or teach you something about yourself? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Let's start a conversation and support one another through the challenges we face. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to hit that like button to show your support. And if you're new here or haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time. Join our community by subscribing to Unheard Stories, where we dive into tales of love, betrayal, and life's unexpected twists. Make sure to click that notification bell so you never miss an upload. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every week, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Curious about what's up next? Our next tale is a jaw-dropping story about a woman who discovers her husband has been leading a double life for years, complete with a secret family in another state. When she finds out, her revenge is so creative, it leaves everyone speechless. You won't believe how she turned the tables on him and exposed his lies for the world to see. Sound intriguing? Then stay tuned, because this next story is one you'll be talking about for days. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Stories like these remind us of the complexities of human relationships and the resilience of the human spirit. Whether they make us laugh, cry, or reflect, these tales bring us together and show us the strength we all carry within. So, until next time, stay strong, stay curious, and remember, no matter what life throws your way, you have the power to rise above it. I'll see you in the next one.